So you have to time it. 9 minutes. 9 minutes. We're going to do this solo, Coyote. Solo.
I'm ready.
I have to. I can't wait for Bubba. Bubba, I don't know. Remember, the show's cars, stars, and everything in between. So, Bubba, when you join, you join. I'm looking at Coyote Peterson on screen here in my StreamYard. And I don't know if those of you who know Coyote Peterson, but I'm going to bet that probably most of you do, because I've seen things that you have 1 billion views. Is that a misprint?
Well, yeah, it is, because we have almost 5 billion views at this point. I think it's at like 4.8 billion. Not that we're counting, but it's a little bit more than a billion.
Man, Coyote Peterson, I'm looking at him in an environment that he's got plants and trees, and he's got a hat on that is makes me jealous. And he wants mine, which I won't give him because I believe his has way more battle scars than mine. Coyote, man, welcome to the show. I've watched some of your things. And I said it earlier, not intimidated by most men, but what you do intimidates me. And it's unbelievable. I can't believe it has to be staged, and it's not, is it?
No, it's not. And I'm sure I've got some stories I can share with you today that have not become public yet, because I'm just back from a 5-week trip to Australia. And boy, did I go through the ringer on that trip. So for all those who love the extreme stuff that they've seen me do on the internet, hold on to your butts. We just did some crazy stuff in Australia.
So what drives you? Did you grow up with this passion?
Well, I certainly grew up with a passion for telling stories and loving animals. And I never thought that my ability to interact with animals and get myself into the environment, and usually do it very safely without being bitten or stung by things, would ever lead to a career where intentionally getting bitten and stung by things would become what made my career a possible thing. So it is kind of like this weird paradox that what I do intentionally is usually what I try to not have happen. Does that make sense?
No. I mean, I'd like to go with you here, like I'm smart and intelligent and get it, but I don't get it.
Well, no. I'm really good if I wanted to be, I'm really good at not being bitten and stung by things, right? Like any good wildlife show presenter is going to tell you that the name of the game is to not have the animals negatively affect you. You want to be as as possible.
You just no, that's not what you do. You do it on purpose.
Well, I do, and that's what has turned it into this, in some episodes, I guess, this viral phenomenon that has drawn people in to be like, there's no way this guy is going to go through with this. And then I go through with it, and people are like, you're crazy. Either crazy or brilliant, being how we figured out to build the Brave Wilderness brand, I guess.
Do you not have any fear?
No, I mean, not in the world of animals, I wouldn't say. I don't have fear. I have fear of not being able to continue on this profession. I mean, anything could end at any time. But when it comes to the crazy stuff I do out in the wilderness, no, I would say pretty much no fear.
So when you allow that bullet ant to bite you, you're not concerned about that at all? About it taking your own life?
Well, I mean, when I look at the bullet ant, which certainly has been one of our sort of famous landmark moments at Brave Wilderness, and, you know, as I escalate in career and I go through more and more painful experiences, I look back at the bullet ant and I'm like, man, the bullet ant really wasn't that bad as compared to a lot of things that I've been through since. So as you educate yourself and you test the limits of the human pain threshold, it actually becomes a little bit easier, because you're like, well, it can't be much worse than this. And I've experienced, I think, one of the top echelons of pain induced from stinging insects. But, you know, I think it gets a little easier as you go on, to be honest with you.
But maybe it does. I still can't get past the fact that you do this thing with things like snakes that have the poisonous venom. Even if you get past the pain, you know, you're still flirting with death.
Bubba's entered the building, by the way.
I'm here.
Bubba, thank you.
Hi, Bubba.
Bubba.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing? So for clarity, with the venomous snakes, I've never intentionally been bitten by any venomous snakes. That's a threshold that, like, you just don't mess around with. But I have worked with a lot of very dangerous venomous snakes. We actually have an episode coming out this coming weekend where we caught and relocated an eastern brown snake, which is technically the second most venomous snake in the world and is considered the most dangerous snake in all of Australia. And we caught one of these snakes inside of a person's house. So occasionally I'll work with groups on location that go out and rescue reptiles that find themselves within human habitation. So this snake was in somebody's bathroom, true story. And we went in and we rescued the snake. Now imagine if somebody were to wander into their bedroom or bathroom and get bitten by a snake of this toxicity level. There's a good chance you're going to get your life saved because anti-venom is a huge thing in Australia. But a bite from that snake without anti-venom is a guaranteed death sentence. So while we do find and interact with certainly dangerous things, we're very careful. And there's always a way to avoid those interactions if you're a commonplace person.
Do we want to tell me when we want to start recording for the show on Sunday?
We did.
Oh,
Richard jumped the gun.
We did. We've been recording.
Oh,
What happened? Where'd you go?
no, I'm here. I don't have anything. I'm not recording on my end.
We could start over.
No.
But there won't be any audio available for Sundays for the show
Why were you late?
because it took me, it was spinning to sign in for 3 minutes.
Oh,
We'll start over. We can do all this just as good, if not better. I promise.
I'm in. Let's go.
All right, here we go.
See, you were told not to start too early, but you went for it.
All right, check 1, 2. If you guys could talk real quick.
Check. Two. On my side.
Perfect. All right, here we go. 100.1 FM, AM 1020 KDK. This is Cars, Stars, and everything in between. He's the star, Richard Bazzi from Schultz Ford at schultzford.com. I'm Bubba from 100.7 Star, and we have an amazing star on with us today. It's Coyote Peterson. Welcome to Cars, Stars, and everything in between.
Thank you guys for having me today. Looking forward to an exciting conversation.
This is unbelievable. Richard, I think we could talk to, we've only just begun, and I know there is so much conversation we can have.
Well, we've already had it. You missed a couple minutes of it, but to go back and try to recreate some of the things we talked about, it's just Coyote just really, as I told him earlier, there's very few people in the world that intimidate me and very few people that I look up to, but I could never do, Coyote, what you do. And I don't know what inspires you. I don't know what fears you have in relation to your job. And I'm really curious about all of this. And I'm really curious to know, in North America, in the United States of America, what is your most frightening event and what is the thing that really sticks out in your mind? But there's so much, and I think I have to start with why. Why do you do this?
We'll go back to that. What inspires me? Ever since I was a little kid, I've been totally fascinated by animals. And most people, when they're young, are fascinated by animals or dinosaurs. It's just how long is that hold of what I call the golden age of animals going to grasp you as an individual? For me, it really never let go. And I may have deviated away from it time to time once I got into high school and started playing sports, started driving cars and getting into that world. But at the end of the day, I always really loved animals and I have a passion for telling stories. So once I graduated from college, where I got a degree in screenwriting, producing, and directing, I realized that there was an opportunity to combine both of those worlds together. How do you go out and tell exciting stories about animals, but also for animals? Keep in mind that animals can't speak for themselves. And a lot of the things that we interact with on the Brave Wilderness channel that we feature could be considered animals that people are afraid of, or maybe they're misunderstood, or maybe it's a little bit of both. So we've really tried to spotlight a lot of those species. And for anybody that's familiar with Brave Wilderness, you know that I put myself into some pretty extreme situations to show you what the capabilities of some of these venomous animals are by intentionally being bitten or stung. So that kind of opens us up into a whole world of the crazy things I've done for rich conversation.
Coyote Peterson, if I say murder hornet, what do you say?
I say one of the most painful stings I have ever experienced. And the intimidation level of that insect alone is on a level beyond anything else I've ever encountered. Murder hornets, properly known as Japanese giant hornets, are huge insects. They're like bulldogs of the wasp and hornet kingdom. And the sting, according to my ranking, is the second most painful sting I've ever gone through in my life. So it's a real deal.
I remember
How long
watching
does that-
the video.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I remember watching the video of the murder hornet, and it was the one time where you looked so apprehensive before the sting took place, and you always have to have that sense of I can't believe I'm going to do this. But in that specific video, you look more apprehensive than most.
Yeah, and I think the reason for that is, on a yearly basis, well, let me start with this. You never know how the body's going to react to venom, right? So in any instance, if you're going to do what I do, which nobody should do, let me experiment. Your body can react differently to any sort of different venom. And what I did know about giant hornets before getting stung by them is that on a yearly basis, they do kill several people. Now, granted, that's usually if somebody stumbles upon a nest and you receive multiple stings. So a larger dosage of venom based on where those stings happen can send you into anaphylactic shock. It could swell up your airway and you suffocate to death. So I had a little bit of apprehension just because I know that this is an insect species that has killed people. But I was also pretty confident that a single sting on my forearm wasn't going to kill me. It was just going to be super painful.
Did you bring EpiPens just to be safe?
Absolutely. We have 2 EpiPens on location every single time we travel, and certainly every time we do any of these intentional venomous inducing experiments.
So you said you don't want to see other people do what you do and
No.
warn against that, right?
Well, and there are people out there certainly that are going to experiment and try things. You can't stop people from doing it. But it's certainly with the younger generation, we are always saying to the audience, do not go out and repeat the things that you see me do. I mean, if you don't have the experience and the skill set to be interacting with certain animals, one wrong move, one wrong bite from a venomous species could either A, put you in the hospital, B, could take your life, or C, at the very least, if you end up in the hospital, is going to be a very, very, very big medical bill at the end of the day.
But how would one prepare? There's not a college that you can go to learn what you do. So I would think. Go ahead.
What I would say to people is to go out and get a degree in storytelling. Find a way to tell stories and learn about the outdoors, and go out and let that be your thing. Let that be your niche to find a unique way to go out and tell a narrative. I think we just sort of found ourselves in the right place and time to stumble upon the narrative that was, let's make what I'm doing a viral sensation, but we couldn't have planned for it. It just kind of happened. Like, you would have never been able to convince me early on if you came to me and said, look, the way to get people excited about animals is for you to get intentionally bitten and stung by things. I would have said, any good wildlife presenter is going to tell you that's exactly the opposite of what you want to do. If you're going into the environment and just getting chewed up by things, you're not very good at your job, right?
But you're several things. You're a great storyteller. You're a daredevil, right? And so when you put yourself in these positions, I mean, I was watching and my heart was racing. And I could never do what you do. I would have the fear, and every one of those, whether it's the bullet ant, the Japanese ants, the elephants, even the elephants. My goodness, you never know. You can't predict their behavior. How do you feel? Was there ever one animal that you feared?
No. And the reason that I don't fear any animals is because I know that as a human, I'm making the choice to enter into their environment. I'm the one taking the risk. I'm in their world. So as long as I'm making the right choices myself to stay a certain distance, I should be okay. But that doesn't mean that you're not going to find yourself in a worst case scenario. And I guess in fairness, the one time that I was actually pretty afraid was my team and I stumbled upon a mother grizzly bear and her 3 very large cubs, probably second-year cubs, on the side of a river in Alaska with absolutely nowhere to go. And I don't know if you guys have seen the movie The Revenant with Leo DiCaprio.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know the movie, the scene where he gets attacked by the bear.
Yes.
We very much were face to face with that exact scenario. The good news is that we did everything right from the get-go by alerting the mother bear that we were there, and she made the choice to take her cubs and go in the opposite direction versus attacking to eliminate the potential threat.
Like, what did you do? Did you like send her a text, or did you call her like, hey, we're right around the corner? Like, how do you alert a mother bear that you're close?
You make yourself look scary. So you throw your arms up in the air, you scream, yo, bear, I'm over here. You don't want to mess with us. Get out of here. Keep going.
Wow.
Really, you do. You look kind of crazy when you do that. And there's a very crucial threshold that has to happen because she was moving in and was less than 100 yards at one point, and she didn't see us. Grizzlies don't necessarily have the best eyesight. They've got good hearing and good sense of smell. The problem for us is that we were downwind, downriver. So it was very noisy, and all of the airflow was not going in her direction. So if she had gotten too close, she may have felt that we were the threat, and it's eliminate the threat versus get my cubs out of what could be perceived as danger. So fortunately, and that's a tough call to make as a human, to be like, do you turn around and run and go the other way? Well, you never want to run no matter what, because if something sees you, you automatically put yourself into a prey position. So we made the choice to alert her. And like I said, fortunately, we got lucky and she went the opposite direction. But it was a very, very nerve-wracking scenario, because this wasn't like, oh, cool, there's a tree we can climb up or a vehicle we can get into. We were on a wide open river embankment. Wow. Absolutely nowhere to go, and stark middle of nowhere. I mean,
so what happened? What happens if she didn't retreat?
And we
attacked you.
And we will find out when we return with Coyote Peterson on Cars, Stars, and everything in between.
Great stuff. Really great stuff.
Hang on.
Commercial break.
Hang on 1 sec. This is great. Stand by.
Oh, this is really good stuff, Coyote.
Hey, no, this is awesome. You guys are fantastic.
Oh man, you're the storyteller. You have the story. You definitely have the stories.
No, I got an encyclopedia of them at this point. I've been in some crazy situations.
All right. We'll pick it up as soon as it saves. We'll pick it up with a new file.
Yep.
Perfect. And here. By the way, those of you that are watching it live, you're seeing a little behind the scenes of what happens when we pre-record our show. All right, here we go. All right, 100.1 FM, AM 1020 KDKA. This is Cars, Stars, and everything in between. He's the star, Richard Bazzi from SchultzFord.com. I'm Bubba from 100.7 Star, and the star that we have today is Coyote Peterson. Now, Richard, when we last left off, Coyote was interacting with a grizzly bear and its 2-year-old cubs, and you asked a very relevant question. Let's pick it up right there.
It's very, very simple question, Coyote. What would have happened had that bear chosen to attack you?
So if the bear had chosen to attack, one thing you definitely want to have when you're in bear country is bear spray. So the second that we noticed that there was a grizzly within our vicinity, boom, bear spray canisters come off of everyone's hips. Now, here's the thing that you probably don't know about bear spray, and I didn't know this either. Bear spray is not like hornet spray. So if you've ever sprayed hornets or wasps, you think of it being this long stream that
Correct.
shoots out. Bear spray is just this cloud. So here's where we got lucky. Had that bear attacked and charged us, we probably would have deployed the bear spray way too early, and the wind would have taken and gone like that, and then we would have, boom, gotten hit by the bear. When you're getting attacked by a grizzly bear, you want to deploy that spray when that bear is almost on top of you. So
Oh my God.
Sure that the whole cloud is getting into its eyes and its nose. Now, you might still get hit. Like that bear might still take you down, but the spray is so intense, it's going to get on you too. But the idea is that it's going to give you just enough time to get away because that bear is going to be going, oh no, what's happening to me right now? And then
Where would
hopefully you're able to get
where would
yourself.
one even buy bear spray? How would you?
At the bear store. What do you mean?
Oh, in Alaska, they sell it everywhere. You get bear spray at any camping outfitter. Like you.
I mean,
should
obviously,
always
but
be armed with bear spray.
I knew that. I mean, I'm going camping. I'm taking my bear spray.
Yeah.
But so my point was going to be: are there ever? What if the bear spray didn't work? And do you ever use firearms?
Okay, so here's the thing about firearms with bears, and I'm sure there are a million people out there that would argue differently. Now, if you're getting attacked by a bear, you cannot comprehend how fast a bear can move. Like the scene in The Revenant was so accurate in that DiCaprio's character didn't have enough time to even get up a gun to point it at the bear. Your body goes into a sense of like shock, like a deer in headlights. The second you see a bear in the wild, your brain scrambles and you're just like, it's a bear. They're huge, right? So if a bear is charging you and you have the wherewithal and you're armed with the right kind of gun that can even take down a bear, anybody who uses firearms, unless you're really well trained, will tell you that shooting a moving target that's running is very difficult. So if you shoot at a bear and you hit the bear, you may not kill the bear. You will only anger the bear. Now, if you're in that situation, you have a gun and the bear is going to attack you, yeah, you're probably going to take the shot if you can get it off, right? But 9 times out of 10, you're not going to kill that bear, and that bear is just going to be angrier and it's going to attack you. That's why bear spray is such a good defense against bears, because you're blanketing the area with something that's going to get into its eyes and its nose. And those are the 2 areas of the bear that are going to send it out of commission. It's going to panic. And what you want to do is get yourself out of this situation. Your odds of shooting and killing a bear that's attacking you are very unlikely.
So here's a question. So the chances of Richard and I encountering a grizzly bear, or dealing with a murder hornet, or dealing with some of these amazingly venomous snakes that you interact with are slim and none. What, in your opinion, is the most dangerous thing that Richard and I could interact with in our own backyards?
And what state do you guys live in?
We're in Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is a relatively safe state.
Yes! Victory is ours, Richard. Victory is ours.
Pretty safe. Venomous snake wise, there's the chance you could run into timber rattlesnakes, but they are super elusive, right? Okay. Very calm, very quiet rattlesnake species. So like you'd have to go out there and mess with a timber rattlesnake to risk getting bitten. You guys obviously have black bears. Black bears can be very dangerous. And there's a big difference. And again, different people will argue different things between grizzly bears and black bears and what to do if you're getting attacked. Grizzly bears, when they attack humans, usually are looking to eliminate a threat. They don't usually eat humans. So with a grizzly attack, you kind of want to curl yourself into a ball, protect yourself, protect your neck and your head. Once the bear feels the threat is eliminated, it may move on. With black bears, they have been more known to eat humans. So if you get attacked by a black bear, you actually want to fight back, because black bears are big, but they're not so big that you as a human may not be able to like drive and fight and scare one off. True story. Wow. And again, this is based on what a lot of bear experts have told me, but you're going to get different stories all across the country based on people that have interacted with
I also think that we have copperheads here also.
You do. And again, copperheads are a venomous species. If you were bitten by a copperhead, you do consider it a medical emergency, but it's very unlikely that you would die from the bite of a copperhead.
I'm getting my daughter bear spray. she will have bear spray, and all those guys that come around her, we're going to just bear spray them away. But Coyote, you mentioned earlier in the show that you just came back from a trip.
I did.
You had some great things that never before seen or heard that you might be able to share something with us.
We just got back from a 5-week trip to Australia. Australia is one of my favorite places to film. This has been our 3rd time that we got to go there. We spent 5 weeks scouring the country for all sorts of different creatures. We worked with Tasmanian devils, worked with saltwater crocodiles, a number of different venomous snake species. But probably the craziest thing that I did while I was there, because I know everybody loves the crazy, is there are a number of different stinging plant species on our planet. And people don't think about plants as having defense mechanisms. I mean, here in the United States, you probably know poison ivy or poison oak, that if you get it on your skin, you're going to be itching. There are plants in Australia that are covered in stinging nettles that if they get into your skin, it's like a nightmare. The most famous one is called the gimpy gimpy. It's got the most painful plant sting in the world. It's also known popularly as the suicide plant. And I experimented with this one, and I can promise you it is one of the most painful experiences I've ever been through. And all I did was take a leaf and fold it over onto my arm. And I was in an agonizing 24 hours of pain that I would not wish upon my worst enemies.
Describe that pain. What's it feel like? Is it like a bee sting?
The way that these nettles work, they're scientifically known as trichomes, and you can't really see them with the human eye, but if you look at them with a macro lens or under a microscope, they look like snake fangs. And the second they enter your skin, the tip breaks off and the back end leaks a neurotoxic poison into your skin. Now, scientists do not know why this toxin triggers pain receptors the way that it does, but it feels like somebody has inserted electrical prongs into your arm and is just cranking the voltage all the way up, and they're not turning it off. And it goes and it goes and it goes, and it comes in waves where it will start to die down and you're like, oh, this is the end of it. And then it will come back twice as strong. It's insane.
It sounds like you could go into cardiac arrest.
You can, and people have. This plant has sent a number of people into the hospital for weeks at a time. People have had to be life flown out of environments from wandering into the plant. And it's called the suicide plant because there are stories of people who have actually taken their lives after accidentally running into it and not being able to stop the pain.
20.6 million subscribers, 4.8 billion views, 900 plus videos, 5 million followers on Facebook, 700,000 followers on Instagram, 2.5 million followers on TikTok. That is Brave Wilderness on YouTube and everything else. I got to tell you, Coyote Peterson, I think if there would be a way that Rich and I could travel with you on one trip and stay at a safe distance, I think we should do it.
I mean, you guys let me know. You want to show up to location somewhere? I mean,
I'd love that.
You already looked the part. I feel like you could play me in like 10 years. You know, if we ever do like a Coyote in the future sort of thing, maybe we'll build a DeLorean and we'll go to the future and you can play Coyote in a future episode of Brave Wilderness.
I love this.
Time out. I'm not sure. Was that a compliment, or are you telling me I'm old?
It was a compliment.
I think he was telling me I was old.
One thing, you look like you might be 10 years older than me. How old are you?
Very happy. This is
wait. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on our where are we? I don't even know. Twitter, Instagram. Follow us. We'll follow you.
Me, or are you saying to the audience?
No, to you.
Oh yeah, no, we will definitely be following you guys for sure.
Yeah, we'll follow you too. And we'll be posting stuff. Man, there's so many questions I haven't asked you. Elephants.
I got all morning. Let's do it.
Crocodiles, crazy. Do you have crocodile stories?
I do. My most recent crocodile story in Australia is one that when people say, well, what was the greatest moment of your trip to Australia? And this is truly it. So Steve Irwin was a huge inspiration of mine growing up. And it was obviously a tragedy for everybody in the animal world when he passed away. Yeah. And Steve Irwin grew up and sort of his rise to notoriety came from catching saltwater crocodiles. People were like, who's this dude jumping off of boats, catching giant man-eating crocodiles? And I mean, as a kid, you watch this and you're like, this is amazing. And crocodiles were just such a fantastical animal. And this time in Australia is the first time that I have been in the right area with the right permits that allowed me to catch saltwater crocodiles by hand. We caught a 6.5-foot salty. I caught it by hand. So for me, it was a huge moment. The whole episode we're thematically designing around paying homage to Steve Irwin and all of the inspiration he's given to people like myself and anybody else in the world of animals and conservation. So we caught this crocodile. I sort of dedicated the moment to Steve. It's just cool being out there at night with flashlights hanging off the front of a boat. And the one that I ended up catching, I had to get out of the boat up into the muddy embankments with the mangroves, jump on top of this crocodile. And I mean, it's got a head on it that's this big. And when you see those teeth, you're like, man, your hand ends up in the mouth of this reptile and you're going to lose your hand. So it's nerve wracking for sure. And, you know, I at that moment, I was like, man, like the power of Steve shining down on me from somewhere, give me the opportunity to catch that reptile. It was a pretty big moment for my career.
So do you have to out-muscle it?
I mean, you don't necessarily have to outmuscle it, right? Because it's not humans versus animals in any instance. It's understanding the strength of the animal and making sure that you have a hold on it that is strong enough to keep it from being able to swing around and grab you, but not so strong that you're ever possibly injuring the animal. Because if you give something like a saltwater crocodile an inch, it's going to take a mile. And if an animal like that swings around and grabs the side of your face or your arm, again, you're talking about a hospital trip. So, you know, you can sort of gauge out the behavior of the animal. Crocodilians specifically, once you catch them, they will stay very, very calm because they're actually building up their energy for that moment when they can possibly escape. And you'll see in the episode when it comes out, which it's going to be releasing on November 15th, which is Steve Irwin Day here in the United States, and I think everywhere, you'll see how that crocodile goes from super calm when I set it back down onto the embankment to exploding into the water, which is boom, like a bomb going off. So you're like, wow. I mean, that reptile is all power when it needs to be.
Wow.
Wow.
Coyote Peterson, thank you so much for joining us for Cars, Stars, and everything in between.
Yeah.
Man, what a perspective.